the mainstream media. It is the official narrative of our very society as we know it, a comment on the zeitgeist supposedly informing us each and every minute of the day of the happenings around the world.
2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center.
Her Majesty has been steadfast, a rock of strength for our nation.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
But in a time when we have the world literally at our fingertips, society now also has access to alternative views and opinions that will never be heard in the mainstream.
For the incessant centralization of power.
The phenomenon of people around the world of seeking anything but the same old cardboard cutout prostitutes we know as politicians.
Over the last 4 decades, Britain's trade with EU member states hasn't grown at all.
The rise of alternative media has seemingly coincided with the lack of public trust in the mainstream media. A report published in 2015 found that 60% of the American population said that they do not trust the mainstream media. An even more recent poll found that just 6% of Americans trusted the mainstream media. So it got me thinking, just how effective is the alternative media in its role of offering an antidote to the mainstream media? My first port of call was a meeting with Hayden Hewitt, founder of citizen journalist website LiveLeak, who now also runs the online independent television station Beyond Vision.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, mate.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, mate.
Thank you. Cheers. Hayden has regularly appeared on TV defending LiveLeak's decision to allow access to graphic videos, such as beheadings, to the general public.
One moment.
If you're going to level an accusation, let someone answer it. It's clearly the polite thing to do.
Hayden, carry on.
Well, the polite thing is not to post a video of someone being murdered.
Michael, I just want to hear his rationale for doing it before we hear more of your reaction to the decision.
We've seen more graphic things on television on the evening news.
You get brought in to defend the indefensible. You know, how do you defend these beheadings? I tend not to. I tend not to defend beheadings at all. You know, I don't even like capital punishment, let alone beheadings.
But the fact that you're providing this platform, it's sort of a way of saying to the mainstream, well, listen, you're not going to show it. This is real life.
It's an adult's choice. If it's labelled correctly and there's a description, you cannot blame anybody else for what you see past that point. You simply cannot. If there's a Mexican cartel video where someone's being beheaded with a chainsaw and it says that in the title, you lose all rights to complain if you click on that video and go, well, I wasn't expecting that, because that means you're a moron.
I thought it was important to gauge an understanding of what defines alternative media from Hayden himself.
If you've got something to say, I don't think there need be any other criteria. You guys, no matter how insightful, no matter how ignorant, no matter how wrong, no matter how misinformed or fully informed, while we have this right, take advantage of it, because it might not be here forever.
So can we have a little look around, Hayden?
Yeah, of course you can, mate.
So it's interesting you mentioned misinformed there, Hayden. You said you don't mind people getting a message on that's necessarily misinformed.
Yeah.
Is that not the whole point in independent media, though? Because where I'm coming from, my argument is, if you're getting into the independent media to compete against the mainstream, you want to get a message out there which is getting twisted and manipulated by the mainstream media. Are you not looking for people who want to get a reliable and a credible message out there?
There's opinion.
Yeah.
And there's fact.
Right.
They're quite often mutually exclusive.
Right.
Opinion is just as important because it's a conversation, or it should be a conversation. Too often you get this basically a cliquey circle jerk of people that just reinforce each other's beliefs to the exclusion of everything else. Tremendously unhealthy, but human nature.
Yeah.
But if we start saying, not so much of BVTV because each project is a different, but as a whole, if we start saying you shouldn't speak because you're wrong, or that's a bit ignorant, we're walking a very, very dangerous path.
I understood Hayden's sentiments about the freedom to share views and opinions within the alternative media, but part of me still yearns for credibility and, above all, truth from alternative sources. I've come to Salford University to speak with lecturer in alternative media Everett Nluvu in order to better understand his experiences with alternative broadcasts. Everett was exiled from his homeland Zimbabwe for speaking out against the state during a time of political and racial tensions between the ruling elite and the general population. So what kicked off his desire to spread an alternative view?
Quite interesting, because when I was growing up, there was, in the country where I lived, there was one broadcaster. It was the then Rhodesia Broadcasting Corporation.
Airport. Her Majesty had flown across half the world to visit one of Britain's newest territories. As she stepped down from the aircraft onto Rhodesian soil, the Queen Mother was welcomed by Sir Robert and Lady Treadgold. Waiting to greet Her Majesty were the Governor of Southern Rhodesia and Lady William Powlett, and various dignitaries gathered for the royal arrival.
Was it state-owned, was it?
It was state-owned.
Right.
And its idea was to talk to the people, not to talk with the people. Its idea was to glorify the system and not to challenge the system. But I, living in poverty, in deprivation, being a second-class citizen in my country, got to understand that there was an alternative to what the system was portraying to society.
The rise in alternative media in what was then Rhodesia was predominantly down to the growth of diasporic radio broadcasts from neighbouring countries by disillusioned native Rhodesians backed by rebels and freedom fighters.
Hello Zimbabwe and welcome to Diaspora Diaries on SW Radio Africa, your independent voice. I'm Alex Bell, and on tonight's show I look at increasing pressure on the United Nations to take action on Zimbabwe because of ongoing threats to human rights there.
At the same time, the Rhodesian government, which was in power then, also used the radio to demonize Africans who were clamoring for independence, saying never in 1,000 words can an African ever rule himself.
Nice.
And therefore, they also demonized these freedom fighters as rapists, criminals, and everything else.
Did their propaganda tools and the methods that they propagated these messages, did they work? Were people believing them?
Definitely, because propaganda is manipulating somebody's brains. Initially, you do believe it. But until a counter rhetoric comes into the marketplace, then you can understand the alternative. Only then will you understand you have all along been manipulated.
As the Rhodesian ruling elite continued to propagate their desired messages to the masses, who were becoming increasingly aware of alternative rhetoric from the diasporic radio broadcasts, Everett himself started to broadcast anti-establishment content back into the country.
Through digital technologies, we managed to link up with the people on the ground to broadcast their voices, their sentiments, their fears, their aspirations, their experiences. We gave them a platform to use their voices to say what is happening and what they would like to happen, what they would like to change, and how they would like to change it. The biggest fear a man has is fear itself, and that becomes your enemy. If through fear you cannot tell somebody he is trampling on your rights, then you are not worth your salt as a man. Let the status quo understand what they are doing and what impact it has on you as a human being who was born with full human rights. Don't care about what they can do. They can kill your body, but they cannot kill your words. As a man, you must be able to live a word that will live long after you are gone, and that word will change the system. Don't ever care what the system says, but confront the system head on. One day, the word of reason will prevail.
Everett's passion and dedication to getting an alternative view out to his fellow Rhodesians was evident, and I'm truly humbled to have been taught by him. So far on my journey to find out just how effective the alternative media is in making a difference to the mindset of the masses, it's safe to say that I've been provided with justifiable and valid reasons for broadcasting against the mainstream rhetoric. Both Hayden and Everett have their own reasons for doing so, but both have not been without persecution and demonisation, a price they were willing to pay, they may say.
We, as media practitioners in the independent sphere, are more powerful than anybody else. Even number 10 Downing Street is not as powerful as me and you. Even Barack Obama is not as powerful as me and you. Because we are the voice of the people, the voice of reason, the voice of change, and the voice of progress.
Join me next week when I'll be going live on air at a local TV station to discuss the alternative media with a journalist firmly embedded within the mainstream. And I meet Richie Allen, a popular independent journalist and alternative news advocate whose roots grew from mainstream broadcasting, to see if I can answer the question, just how effective is the alternative media in offering a worthy antidote to the mainstream?